Some of you have asked how you can help us, while most of us would say we want wine. Italian Wine Podcast is a publicly funded, sponsor-driven enterprise that needs the moolah. You can donate through Patreon or GoFundMe by heading to ItalianWinePodcast.com. We would appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to Get U.S. Market Ready with Italian Wine People on the Italian Wine Podcast. I'm Steve Raye, your host, and this podcast features interviews with the people actually making a difference in the Italian wine market in America, their experiences, challenges, and personal stories. And I'll be adding a practical focus to the conversation based on my 30 years in the business. So if you're interested in not just learning how, but also how else, then this pod is for you. I'm Steve Raye. My guest this week is Francesco Minetti from the Welcome Agency. Francesco, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about your background. Interesting that you've got an agency and you're the second generation. We talk to a lot of producers who are multi-generational, but I rarely talk to someone in the PR business who is.
It's actually not so usual. You're right. Actually, my mom started the business in 1989. She was quite a pioneer in the industry. Because, at that time was something not so common to have a PR strategy. And she decided to start this business because she met a very important journalist in Italy that was called Luigi Veronelli. That was probably one of the main journalists that actually created culture in terms of gastronomy. And so after this meeting, she decided to embark on this adventure. And 10 years ago, I decided to join the company, and then she is now retired.
So, and you're the CEO. That was a pretty good gig. So tell us about the company, where it's located, number of employees, the kind of clients that you have.
Yeah, actually we are, I would say we were based in Alba, and now we shifted our operations remotely. So we are now able to work from wherever we want. We are 25 people, and we work mainly with Italian brands, only wine brands. I would say about 70 per year, just to give you an idea. Yeah, and we help them build their brand internationally. I would say globally. We work actively in 17 countries. Of course, most important ones are North America, so United States and Canada, then UK, then continental Europe, Scandinavia, and a little bit of Asia, Japan, and Hong Kong mainly.
Okay, so PR has gone through radical evolution, as has every business, I think, in the world. How has PR changed for a company based in Italy, where you're working with American journalists, American media, social media, influencers, all that kind of stuff, but you're an ocean away?
Yeah, this is a good question. We had the chance to meet American journalists because in the late 90s, we were the first to organize an en-primeur tasting for Nebbiolo-based wines in Alba. This was something we somehow, let's say, was inspired by the Bordeaux tastings. And so let's say that at that point, we got to know the main media guys that actually are still the main media guys after 20 years. And this was, let's say, I would put it this way, our competitive advantage. But then a lot of things happened. And I would say on the both sides, because on one hand, we have now in Italy definitely more brands, or I call it, wannabe brands. So a lot of wineries that decided maybe not to sell bulk wines anymore, but they started to have their own bottles, their own brands on the bottles, and they wanted attention from the media. On the other side, we have that all the media industry has been consolidated and concentrated a lot. So we have less people to talk to. And this is somehow creates, I would say, an excess demand of visibility and reputation. And this is quite difficult to manage, I would say.
Yeah, I can see that. So what do you do?
Oh, first of all, we try to strategize. So I know that everyone talks about strategy and no one does it. But we try to help wineries to set their objectives in terms of target countries, in terms of target cities, if possible. Because if we don't work
You can't do America. It's not America. We have 50 different markets.
yeah. So first of all that, and then for us, the most important thing is to help them understand why they are different. So we elaborated some visual models to help this process of, I would say, introspection, because for us it's important to understand the let's say three things that are very characterizing, distinctive of your brand. Without this, you are just wasting your money because you don't have actually a distinctive message, but you always say the same things. Oh yeah, we are traditional, but also a little bit innovative. Oh yeah, we are family owned, and this is the fourth, fifth, and so on and so forth. And then third thing that everyone says right now is, yeah, we are sustainable. Great. So this is actually something that is pretty common of all the thousands of wannabe brands in Italy. So the first step is to help them understand the three pillars. We call it pillars. And these to us are the foundations of a PR strategy. Then we choose the target. And the target could be not only media because of the thing that I was saying before. So we also expand our PR work beyond
To what?
yeah. Uh, Actually, we consider also other important spaces and other important audiences. Of course, we need to be aware that this excess demand actually created an opportunity for other people to fill the gap. And these other people are, okay, influencers, digital influencers, content creators. And for some brands, this can be a very effective strategy. In particular, if the brand is very well distributed, for example, I would say mainly of trade. So you have a lot of distribution and you need to get very fast and very effectively and with a lot of control of your message to the final consumers. So this is, of course, more measurable than traditional media, faster, and I would say also more secure in terms of the control of the message. So this is, of course, one choice. But the other choice, and I think it's the most promising one, is trade. So if you are a boutique winery, you want to premiumize your portfolio, maybe not all the influencers are, let's say, suitable for your strategy. And so we are starting talking to master of wines, master sommelier, and buyers, consultants for wine lists, restaurants directly. And this, I think, it's quite effective because at the end of the day, apart from the reputation you get from ratings, from articles, there's a bit of reputation that you get directly from distribution. If you are in the main wine list,
That's validation that you're commercially successful.
yeah, I mean, to me, it's a wonderful social proof as well. Because if you are in a wine list with other great guys, that means that you are doing a great job apart from the media side. So this is our, let's say, approach.
So one of the challenges, let's be polite about it, is many wineries, consortia, all the rest, don't distinguish messaging between trade and consumer. And so it's why in an American trade magazine, you'll see consumer ads. For those people who are still doing advertising and for those magazines to still exist. And that just turns off that audience because the trade is not interested in your grandfather or your sustainability. They want to know what's the margin on this thing. What kind of promotional materials are you going to put into the market? What kind of distribution are you going to to bring to me. It's an entirely different set of rules or needs. And yet most of the producers I work, especially when we're talking about farmer producers, don't recognize that the trade has very specific needs and interests and different ways that you reach them. How do you educate your clients in being able to do that? It's in a way, it's harder than teaching them how to talk to consumers.
Yeah, but probably more effective, I would say. So we spend some time in the initial part. I mean, to us, the most important part of a relation with clients is the first part, because it's the one where you set your targets and you set your expectations. Okay, so it's really important that in this initial phase we do also some kind of educational work, saying that actually you need to have, for example, a well structured portfolio. This is something maybe that someone considers not really relevant for a PR strategy, but at the end of the day, for trade, is super relevant. Right. That your portfolio is well conceived and you don't have too many products on the same segment,
same price point or same type of wine and all that kind of stuff. Because I see this all the time. That you get people come, they have 20 SKUs or something, and they want to get all 20 SKUs in the marketplace, and they're not gonna. Someone's going to cherry pick just a few. That makes it challenging because if you only have one or a few facings in the store, how are you going to get noticed in time and attention? So it's which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, that's true, man. But we also try to help them to understand and to identify one icon wine, so the one that is perfectly suited for media, for technical journalists, the one who needs to get the ratings, must be limited quantity. It must be, it's I always do this kind of example with automotive. You have Audi, the German manufacturer, and they present to the Geneva fair the A8 hybrid. They don't sell probably not even one, maybe it's just a prototype. But what's the point? The point is, this is the most representative wine that actually shows our philosophy. It's our best. And then identify the bestseller. Okay, so which is the A3 for Aldi, for you, no? And this actually is very important also to target different, for example, samplings to different kind of sommeliers or I don't know, store manager,
whether it's
or journalists.
A chain grocery store is not going to be interested in your icon wine.
Yeah,
they're never going to sell it, and their customers are never going to pay that kind of money. Absolutely spot on from my perspective. And whenever I explain this to people, they want to tell me about all their other wines. Where the focus. I'd rather have you have one wine that got a 93 from somebody rather than 20 wines that got 89. 89 is not a bad score, but it's not anything you want to bet the business on. Because if it's below a 90 in the U.S., it basically says it's not of quality. It's just the reality of the business. So we've become poisoned, if you will, to score or subordinate to scores. And the first question that new wineries get when they're talking to the trade in America is, you got scores? And if the answer is yes, I got Tre Bicchieri from Gambaro Rosso. No. Do you have scores that matter in the U.S.? Not to diminish or demean Gambaro Rosso, and at a certain level that becomes very important to certain importers and distributors. But for the general public,
no. I mean, if we want to talk about ratings, I have a lot to say. And I think that ratings are crucial in a certain period of the brand evolution. What I want to say, that first of all, you are maybe going to a new market, okay? Maybe you're going to the US. Maybe you don't have strong distribution yet. Maybe you don't have distribution at all. Okay, you cannot use scores or ratings to get a distribution, right? Because one spectator won't rate you because you are not important. Full stop. I mean, Then one enthusiast sometimes can, but I mean, this is not the aspect. So, first of all, you need to understand very clearly why are you different, and which are the wines that actually you can use as a, let's say, to break the ice, I would say, with the trade. Then, if you want to consolidate, then okay, this is very helpful, and if you have ratings, can help turnover, can help sell out, yeah, for sure. And then if you need also to, at a certain point, to premiumize your portfolio, ratings are super efficient and effective. But I can quote a lot of wineries in Italy that became like superstars without a rating.
Yeah. The reason I brought it up is that is it's the first question people ask because they're trying to identify, do you understand the U.S. market? And if your answer to the question of do you have scores is no, then you clearly don't understand the U.S. market because you have to have them. The second question would be, is it from a U.S. recognized source? What they're trying to do, these are proxies for answering the real question, which is, how do I know the wine is going to sell? Right?
Yeah, it's true, but I think that it must change somehow because now we have in Italy, I would say, almost 100,000 wineries. And we have, let's be generous, 5 relevant magazines in the US. How are they supposed to rate them all?
Well, what's happened is there's been this explosive growth in secondary rating entities, which a lot of people in the trade will dismiss as, well, I don't give credence to that one or this one. But I can tell you this, there's a major retail chain in the U.S., and they provide a list of these are the entities that matter. We want ratings in these. Okay, so if you're going to be marketing a wine in the U.S. and want to sell through that store, get ratings from those 20 entities. One alone isn't it, but it's kind of like the default question that people have. And for most Americans, there's not enough information on the wine label, so the score, using the word proxy again, is a proxy for a quality statement. And that's all we have because, and it's even more so when it's online because you don't have somebody standing next to you to explain to you how wonderful this wine is.
Italian Wine Podcast, part of the Mama Jumbo Shrimp family.
This is for sure true for off-trade.
Yes.
But if we're talking about on-trade, things are a little bit more complicated or easier, if you want. Because at that point, what is the key aspect? Is the relation you have with sommelier or the one on the floor. Right? Because at the end of the day, no one is looking at the wine list and checking, let's see, this is a 95, this is a 96. Right. But probably they say, okay, I'm going to order this. Can you suggest me a good pairing? Okay, and maybe I want to try something new. For example, we can also think about the success, for example, of niche category, like for example, orange wine from Gorisca Berda or Jura or Collio. They are not rated. I mean, this is not the main selling point.
It's a different audience, right? Yeah.
So it depends. Yeah. I really like to get other options, not only ratings, because ratings is something that actually can confirm. It's a reason why. It's a brand benefit, but it's not a brand killer. Because at the end of the day, if, for example, one spectator, okay, there's a change in editorial in chief with different tastes.
Yeah.
What happens? You were rated very highly, and then from one day to another, you are not rated so highly anymore.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can actually control, like a relation with 10 top sommeliers in the US that actually are able to influence the trend.
So are you working with the sommelier level? Do you have that kind of engagement and interaction with people who are on the, let's call it, the front lines? And if so, how?
Yeah, we are trying to address them as if they were journalists. We are trying to invite them in Italy, to educate them, to make them live meaningful and relevant experiences, and let's say have a flavor of the terroir of the territory. If we work, for example, with consortia, and we do it with master of wines and master sommeliers that are not probably the top line, but I would say the ones more, closer to the top line, and we are doing with top line that has maybe some like restaurant chains, not just one restaurant, because otherwise it's too costly.
Right, absolutely. How do you do that from across an ocean? I mean, in the U.S., agencies have people, they attend the conferences, we go to WSWA and some of the, industry events, and, everybody gets to know everybody else. Here you have in Italy and some other shows, Wine to Wine, which is where we're talking at right now. How do you do that from here with people who are not even in an office?
Yeah, actually, we don't work in an office anymore. So I think that, for example,
That's the answer.
I think that in this area, the digital tools actually help a lot, in particular for scouting. Okay, scouting is really easy. It's probably also quite effective from your desk. Let's put it this way. Then there's something that must be in person, and this is the relation building. So we travel to US and we might enter Italy very soon.
Yeah.
It's not something
That's one of the best ways to get people, but it's expensive. We went through a period of COVID where nobody could travel, which was horrible from my personal perspective, because that's what I like to do. And you get a sense of a winery and a wine and a winemaker and a winery owner in a way that you cannot get from tasting the wines at Tributary in New York or something like that. And it isn't so much as seeing the cellar and walking the vines and all that kind of stuff. I remember one winery I worked with, I won't mention the name, but she was trying to explain to me about biodynamics, right? And she took me out into the field and she put her hand into the dirt. And her hand went all the way up to her palm. And she said, if you went across the street, it wouldn't even penetrate the dirt because it's all compacted. That showed it in such a more real way that allowed me and us to communicate to people, because that's the kind of story that resonates with people, as opposed to just saying we're biodynamic. Here's a perfect example. You can just put your hand into the soil. That I can relate to. Everybody can relate to that. The trade can relate to that. Consumers can relate to that. So we know we're in a world where everybody consumes stories. Your job is to tell stories, architect stories. How do you teach a new generation of PR people? Maybe they're from journalism school, if you even have journalism schools anymore. Those skills when they're remote.
actually. I think that stories and content in general, in this precise moment, are a little bit overrated.
Really? Tell me why, because you're the first person to say that out loud.
We were like, I would say, there was this content overload, and there was this emphasis after the digital revolution, where there was this frenzy of producing content, because at a certain point it was so easy and so cheap to have your own platform. Everyone, brands, trade, everyone, and produce. And so all the marketing guru, content first, content is king, and so on and so forth. Okay, great. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the relation, the content doesn't get to the person.
Yeah.
So my point is build the relation first. Identify which is your precise target. But this is not something like blurred. I want names.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, names, surnames, places. Okay, this is a list. And then, not stories, but 3 points.
Okay, your 3 pillars.
That's all.
Which are?
That's all.
Summarize the 3 pillars.
Three pillars. You want me to define them?
Yes, please.
These are the three main differentiating assets you own. These are not replicable, and if you read the three of them, you can clearly understand it must be you.
What are they?
It depends.
You're making this hard. You mean that the pillars will differ with each producer and their own individuals, but don't they fall into a certain category?
No.
How do you explain to your clients, whether they're producers? Well, let me restate the question. Do you work differently with consortia than you do with producing wineries?
Yeah, of course. In terms of approach and in terms of activities. So the approach, first, you need, of course, to communicate not just one brand, but I would say a super brand. That is the appellation, usually, or the appellations.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, when we are talking about these three pillars, they cannot be family specific. They cannot be too much, let's say, focusing on personal aspects, but they somehow need to be a little bit more collective. So we can talk about grape varieties, we can talk about terroir in general, we can talk about soils, and this is quite, we can dig and find specific aspects. So this is a first difference of approach. Then, in terms of approach, we have a lot of emphasis on two things. One is internal communication, because for us it's really important that the basis of the consortium understand what we are doing and why. That's a hard job. That's super hard. But we believe that it's the only way, because at the end of the day, the PR strategy is also an opportunity to grow your organizational and business culture, because you are somehow facing new people in different markets, and this help. I think this helps you grow as an entrepreneur, because it expands your horizon. So this can be just a systematic newsletter or workshops for education. And this is the other aspect we are focusing a lot about, because we take for granted that a winery is able to talk with a sommelier or to talk with a journalist from the other side of the world, but this is really an assumption. And in most cases, it's not true.
Yeah, interesting.
And so this is, I think, in terms of approach, these are the main differences. In terms of activities, we with consortia we are focusing a lot more on press tour, blog tour, media tour, sommelier tour. We want to make people live the territory, and also in with different kind of angles, not just with the angle of okay, now taste the wines, but live the terroir in the sense that you can have also a visual understanding of what's going on in terms of gastronomy, outdoor, in terms of vineyards, in terms of biodiversity, in terms of people. At the end of the day, not just the people who grow vines, but all the people that makes actually territory.
Yeah, cool. Okay, we're coming to the end of our time. One of the things or the thing I do is ask my guests for a big takeaway. What is the one thing of all the things that we talked about here that if a winery were listening to this, or someone on the trade in the U.S. side could put to use immediately, can take from what we talked about and a practical outcome?
Usually, I was told that communication is really expensive, and that all the issue is the budget. Okay, my perspective is that 80% of your communication is introspection. So you go home and ask yourself, what are the main aspects of differentiation? This is my key question. And which are the 10 people I'm really genuinely interested in building a relation with? This is a zero-cost PR strategy, and it takes time.
But it needs guidance too. It's not something anybody can do on their own.
Yeah, we usually help the wineries or the consortium to get their models with interviews, but I mean,
we're talking this week with Francesco Minetti, who's the CEO of Welcome Communications. Thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate you sharing your time with us.
yes,
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
our website is welcomeonline.com, welcomeonline.com. Here you can find all contact details.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you again for sharing your time. And it was great to meet you here at Wine to Wine.
Thank you, Steve. My pleasure.
Thanks again for listening. This is Steve Raye with Get U.S. Market Ready with Italian Wine People on the Italian Wine Podcast.